Hello, my name is Aaliyah Roberts. I am the enrollment specialist slash recruiter here at Co-Lin Community College. We basically go to our district schools and just pretty much recruit for our school. We have a lot of great things here at Co-Lin, and we just want everyone to know about it.
Thank you. So the first thing you have now convinced a student to apply that they want to come to Co-Lin. Can you walk me through the application process? I know most community colleges admit kind of on a rolling basis, but is there a new application that comes live every fall semester? Is there, an updated app that they need to kind of watch for a certain date to release or anything like that?
Yes. So if you're coming in as an incoming freshman, well, let's back up. Let's talk about dual enrollment. If you are a dual enrollment student, you do have to do an application for the college, but it's a dual enrollment application. Once you finish at the high school and you know for a fact you want to come to Co-Lin and you were a dual enrollment student at Co-Lin, you will have to do an updated application as an incoming freshman. Once you do that application as an incoming freshman, as long as you did not take a semester off, you don't have to redo an application. Now, if you do take a semester off, you do have to do an updated application. And of course, we're going to need those transcripts from your high school. If you're transferring from another college, we will need that transcript as well. ACT scores. If you're not a Mississippi resident, you'll have to prove residency. Pretty much your basic admissions procedures. But as far as updating applications is concerned, only if you take some time off from Co-Lin, you do have to do an updated application, or if you are a dual enrollment student.
Okay. And is that application typically available in August of each year, or when does it become ready to be filled out?
It's ready to fill out really throughout the year. We do have it online as well as paper applications. So if you don't want to do it online, you can do a paper application. For our district high schools and schools in general, we do go to the different schools and do what we call a college prep workshop. There I would give them a paper copy of the application as well if they did not do it online. But we do have paper and online applications.
Okay, so the important thing to remember is just to indicate which term they want to enroll in on the application. That's probably the biggest piece of enrollment advice.
Yes.
Okay, got it. And then for students, if they're coming in, you mentioned they need an ACT score. Is that going to guarantee a academic scholarship at a certain range?
Well, our ACT scholarships start at a 19 and it goes up from there. So, and we do accept super scores as well. So if you're wanting to get and with our ACT scholarships, you do not have to do an application for them. You will just have to send us your scores, and whichever one's the highest, we will take it.
Okay. Is there a deadline for the highest ACT? Can they submit scores all the way up until like the July test right before they enroll?
Yes.
And you said those are automatic. They don't have to fill out a separate application. Okay.
They do not have to fill out a application. They just need to send us their ACT scores through ACT.org. And I will say this, that if they do bring it up to us physically, they do have to, and they print it out, we do have to have that first and last name.
Okay.
Yeah, when you do the print, because usually when you print it off the ACT website, it prints it off, but it does not show the name, or it doesn't show the full name. And so there's a way that you can snip it to where we just need to see that full name. If you can give it that full name, you're good to go.
Okay. And on those ACT scholarships, is there a GPA requirement, or as long as they have the ACT requirement, they're good to go?
ACT requirement, just ACT.
Okay. All right. So you mentioned that ACT scholarships are automatic, but are there other scholarships available for students to receive that may require a separate application?
So we do have our foundation scholarships for our district students, as well as like our presidential scholarships. Now, just those foundation scholarships, you will have to have, certain ACT scores. Like with our Taylor presidential, you do have to have a 25 or above ACT to be qualified to apply for it.
Okay. And so those require a separate application. Is there a deadline for that?
It's usually March 1st.
Okay. So I know another primary way students pay for school is through filling out the FAFSA and qualifying for either, grants, loans, in addition to scholarship money. Is the FAFSA required for all students on campus as part of their admissions package?
We do want the students to fill out the FAFSA. We do want them to, because there's so many extra things that can come with the FAFSA, not only just Pell Grant, you get loans, but you can also qualify for the MTAG as well as work study. So we highly encourage the students to do their FAFSA.
Okay. If students are awarded a scholarship, are they required to have that FAFSA on file before any money is dispersed?
Yes.
Okay. And what's the priority date for FAFSA completion? Is there a date that they need to have the FAFSA completed by? Is there a priority date, or as long as it's done before they enroll?
We typically want it done before they enroll, or at least done before the refund check typically comes out. Okay. But most likely before they enroll. We want it done before they enroll. Okay.
But nothing super early in their senior year that they have to be worried about. Okay.
But when I go to the schools, I highly encourage them to go ahead and do it. It usually opens October 1st, so I highly encourage the students to do it. But as far as with financial aid, we really want them to do it before they enroll.
Right. Okay. And especially if we have students that are using the FAFSA to, as part of their help grant application through the state of Mississippi, they've got to have that in by March 31st. So earlier is better. Tell me a little bit about the campus, like residential life. Do a lot of students live on campus?
So we do have, well, let's start with our women's residence halls. So we have two honors residence halls. One is Nettles, the other is Capaya. They both have private bathrooms. Nettles is really one of our newer dorms. It is probably, I think, 3 years old now. Okay. And so they have private restrooms, and it also has 2 sinks. So it has a sink in the bathroom with you and your roommate, and there's a sink in like this foyer area. So a lot of students like to use that as a kitchenette. Then we have Capaya, which is what we call the overflow honors dorm. It's also private restrooms, and some rooms are huge. Some of our rooms in Capaya Hall can fit up to 4 students comfortably. So okay. If you have a few friends that you want to roommate with, you do have a room in Capaya that they can fit up to 4 students in. And then we also have Stevens Hall, and connected to Stevens Hall is Stevens Annex, which the Annex is a suite style, but Stevens Hall it's just your traditional dorm with the community restrooms. And then for our men, we have Bates Hall, which is literally identical to Nettles. It's the same layout inside and out. And then we have Lincoln and Lawrence, which is more of a suite style. It's 2 buildings, but they're identical as well. And it's suite style in their rooms. And then we have Franklin and Simpson, which is our traditional dorms with the community style bathrooms as well. To get in our honors dorm, you do have to have a 21 or above. 21? Mm-hmm. Okay. And we do accept super sports.
Okay. So is there a certain date that the housing application opens, or is there a point in the process? Like, do they have to be admitted before they can complete a housing application? How does that work?
So to complete a housing application, you do have to have an ID number. So if you are a dual enrollment student, you automatically have an ID number, so you can go ahead and do your housing application when it opens for your term. However, if you're not a dual enrollment student, or if you're a student that's not in our district that want to come here, you do have to have an ID number before you can do your housing application. There is a $75 housing application fee that you do have to pay to reserve your room. But for the most part, you do have to have an ID number. That's really the main thing. Okay.
And is there a deadline for students to have their housing application in? I know at a lot of community colleges, housing goes very quickly.
So when housing for us usually opens, there's not necessarily like set date, but it's typically in October. That's when it opens. And so once it opens, we tell students once it opens, let's go ahead and get those housing applications in, because typically the waiting list starts to come in around springtime. We try to open it up as long as we can, but once that dorm fills up, then we'll notify you through on our website to let you know which dorm is filled up, which one has no more rooms and things like that. But as far as when it opens up in October. We just tell students to try to get that housing application in as soon as possible, because the waiting list for those dorm rooms, especially for our honors dorms, they typically come around springtime.
Okay, that's good to know. For students who may not be as familiar with all the opportunities at a community college, can you talk about the different academic pathways if they're wanting to go, get their basic courses and then transfer to a four-year institution, if they want to get a certificate or do some kind of technical program? Can you just talk about different pathways for students there?
So here we have an academic pathway, which is what you'll get your Associate of Arts. This degree is mainly if you want to go to a university. All of our classes will transfer. You'll just do your 2 years here, 2 required courses, or what people call prerequisites here, and then you'll transfer to the university. And our academic counselors and our advisors, they work really hard with our students. They talk to them and they make sure, you kind of, put out a plan when they come to make their schedule. Like, where do you want to go after Co-Lin? Okay, you want to go to USM? Let's pull up USM's catalog with your major and see what do we have that we can go ahead and take here, so you don't have to take it at USM or Mississippi State or things like that. So that way when you go in, you can go in as a junior. So that's our academic pathways. And we pretty much have every major you could possibly think of, or at least that I can think of as far as academic. Now we also have CTE, which is our career and technical education. That is, people like to call it like a trade. It's more so like vo-tech classes of college. And so it is very, very hands-on with all of our CTE programs. You're in the class, you're doing what you're going to school for physically. So for our welding, you're actually welding. Our cosmetology department, you are actually doing hair, skin, and nails. For COVID, we couldn't do, they couldn't get their clients because of COVID, so they had to do these mannequins. But now, since things are kind of opening back up, now they're accepting clients. So they have to do cosmetology, like the whole 9 yards, as if it's a salon. They have to work the reception desk, they have to book their own clients, that type of sort of thing. Our early childhood development center, we have a daycare on campus, and they are the ones, of course, with the instructors, they are the ones who are there helping with the daycare. So our CTE is very, very hands-on, and it's meant for you to start working right after Co-Lin. And some of them are 2 years, some of them are 1 year or 3 semesters. Some of them work through the summer, but you can get done faster than the academic. So if you are a very hands-on person and you like visual things, and you're not you really like to work with your hands, CTE may be the route.
Okay, that's good to know. Are there any really unique programs at Co-Lin, whether it's academic, CTE, just anything that kind of stands out?
So for me, I think with our CTE programs, there's a lot of programs that stand out to me. I really like to talk about our cosmetology department, because if you ever tour our campus and you walk in our cosmetology department, it looks exactly like a salon. And so it's, I think that's one of the programs I really love to talk about, because I think it's so cool that, that they have to book their own clients, and you're learning each step on how to pretty much run a salon. Like, they make you do the reception, take the calls, even from that small little aspect of running a salon. As well as our welding facility. Like, it's in our construction program, the students are actually doing what they're going to school for. Of course, you have to do a little bit of bookwork, and if you're getting your CTE, you have the option of getting a certificate or an Associate of Applied Science. So if you decide to do the Associate of Applied Science, you are going to have to take 5 academic classes. But for the most part, you are working with your hands. And I think that's one of the most unique things on campus, is just to see the students being able to work, do what they're going to school for. Even our culinary arts department, they're always, when we're having events, they are the ones who are cooking for, like we had our Festival of the Arts event where our arts department, they put out their art so they can sell it and things like that. And so they were the ones who catered. So they made the gumbo and the I think they had chicken noodle soup, and I think they also had jambalaya and some cookies that they made and stuff like that. So for them to be able to do what they're going to school for and present it to people around the campus, to the faculty, the staff, and the students, I think that's very good.
Okay, thanks. That's one thing that I do love about community colleges, is all the programs seem to kind of support each other because they are so hands-on. And so you can walk through and see student art or student built construction things, like, sometimes you see picnic tables all over campus that the construction program builds or things like that. So it's fun to kind of see it, that all that hands-on work come to life around the campus. For students that do live on campus, or even if they're commuters, what are some of the student activities, like extracurriculars or organizations that they can become involved in?
Okay, so I'm going to mention, well, we do have Phi Theta Kappa. Phi Theta Kappa, PTK, is like the Beta Club of college, or the National Honor Society of college. PTK, you have to have a 3.4 GPA and 12 credit hours here to be invited. And then once you're invited, you pay your fee and then you get inducted into PTK. And then they do so many events on campus. Like they do community services. We do have a national park that's close to the school. So they go there and clean up as far as some of their community service hours. And it's something that the students enjoy going, doing. They meet new people. They get to hang out with their friends and things like that, as well as do community service and, make those connections, and as well get those points to get scholarship money for when they transfer. Another organization is Trailblazers. That's the group that I sponsor. I'm the advisor of, and they're basically the school student recruitment. They are the face of the college. They come with me to different college fairs. If I'm doing a college prep workshop, they come with me, or if I'm doing some type of event, they help work. They are basically the face of the college, and they help around. They make connections. And it's just really, really fun. Yesterday we had our Christmas party and we did karaoke and Christmas carols and things like that. So there's a lot of events that we have on campus. And another thing about Co-Lin is that with our different programs and organizations, we still help each other out. So for an example, December 1st, I believe, we did the lighting of our tree. And so it was PTK, but we also had Trailblazers to come and help. And so it was just all of the organizations all at once with the students helping, doing like these big events. Like we had hot chocolate, we had s'mores, we had karaoke, we had Santa come out and take pictures and things like that. So those are our two organizations that I know more about because I work with the students. But we also have other organizations like PBL, which is our business organizations. We have BSU, which is our Baptist Student Union, our Wesley Foundation. All of these organizations, they cater to the students. They have worship services, Bible studies, things like that.
So you're not going to be bored if you come to Co-Lin. There's a lot to get involved in on campus.
Not at all. And then we do also have, even when there's not events, a lot of our instructors and staff, we come out on like weekdays and weeknights when they're eating dinner, and we'll set up little games. Like we have like this jumbo size Jenga we'll set that up outside. We'll set cornhole outside. So when they're just sitting around the courtyard, we'll just set up those games and they'll have something else to do while they're sitting out, especially if it's like a really cool, pretty night. We'll do that. So there's always something to do.
Always something going on. What are some of the resources that help students succeed in the classroom and just in transition to college life? So tutoring centers, health centers, gyms, just anything that's on campus is kind of a resource to help with that transition to college life and make sure students perform well.
So I'm going to start with group tours. So we do a lot of group tours, and in those group tours, we like to do what we call panels. And so I have some of the Trailblazers that go here, and we pretty much have it a student-on-student conversation, because I know I can get real boring. Students don't want to necessarily always want to listen. They want to hear from a student's perspective, excuse me. And so we do what we call a panel, and that panel pretty much kind of is like an icebreaker. They are able to ask the questions that they feel comfortable asking, and then the Trailblazers take them on the tour, and we allow the students to mingle. They in some cases, if they want to kind of mingle in the courtyard and things like that, we kind of just let them mingle and be amongst the college students, and that's when they are in high school. So if a school wants to come for a group tour, they just let me know. We'll set that up. Now, once they decide they want to come here and then start doing their schedule and things like that, we have what we call registration days. And registration days is basically that's where you go make your schedule, you get your parking decal, you do your student ID, and if you want to do a more in-depth personal tour, you would do that. So that way, and it's closer to the fall semester. So that way you'll get that personal tour, so you kind of know where your classes are because you have your schedule. So it's that first step getting into that college scene. Now, once you get on campus, we'll have what we call welcome week. Welcome week, we have different events, so that way you can meet the new people from different places, because we have students even from different countries here. And so that welcome week is basically welcome to the campus. The dorm hostess, they sometimes have little parties for the dorms and stuff like that, so that way the residence hall students can get to know each other as well. And that week is really for everybody to kind of just meet everybody and kind of get their feet wet on the campus. And then once that, we have what we call an organization fair, where we have all the organizations come out, set up a table, and have the students kind of ask around about the different organizations, so that way they can see if maybe they want to be a part of Trailblazers, maybe they want to be a part of BSU, maybe they want to be a part of Wesley. And so after that, we start having those interviews and stuff like that, those sign-up sheets for what organization you want to be a part of, and then after that, we're good to go as far as that transition into college life.
Gotcha. Okay, that was a good explanation for those first few weeks, especially welcome week. I always love those weeks on campus because there's a lot of new energy and a lot of exciting just buzz on campus. So
yeah, we also have like different things that they can go out and do. Like we have a grill where it's not cafeteria food, but it's more like fast food type food, like you get like hamburgers and stuff like that. And we have a gym, and we have a walking trail that you can go to. We have these new tennis courts that are open until 11 o'clock at night that you can go and play tennis. There's a lot to do on campus.
Okay. So to wrap up, is there anything that you want to share with either students or counselors or teachers that may be using this in classrooms that we haven't talked about?
I do want to say that we are accepting super scores. And I know I mentioned earlier that our applications are paper and online, and our housing application is also online. You can do all of that online. And we are in the works of making our scholarship applications online as well. And I also want to mention that if you do the online, you do not have to do the paper. But if you do the paper, you don't have to do the online. A lot of students want to do both. And if you do both, that's perfectly fine, but you don't have to do one and the other. A lot of students think that we do, but you don't.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, well, that was a lot of good information. I learned a lot of interesting things just through that conversation. So thank you for taking time this morning. We will get this distributed on our YouTube playlist out to students and parents, teachers, counselors. So thank you for taking time this morning.
Thank you for having me.